Tonight from the Detroit City Fieldhouse, it's MASLW action as Detroit City FC hosts Kalamazoo United FC. Greetings and back here at the Hacienda to do this tonight, although the roads don't look too bad for going out to the clubhouse. So looks like the second half of this thing, well, not the second half, after hours will be from the clubhouse tonight as Detroit City takes on Kalamazoo United in MASLW play, the league in which they've been dominating all throughout the year. Let me start things off with that. Right now, 4 games played, 12 points, 42 goals for, 14 goals against, a difference of 28 goals. These women have been phenomenal out there. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And let's just say, I mean, totally dominating right now. 4-0 in the division. Kalamazoo is the closest team to them at this point. They sit at 2-2 with their goals for 30, their goals against 34. So looks like might be another dominating time tonight for Detroit City as they go out there. But they, like I said, they have been dominating as of late. Goals for average, 10.5 for the indoor side. Goal differential, as I mentioned, 28. Power play, 25%, or power play percentage, 25%, and they've been perfect on the penalty kill. So anytime that they've been blue carded, they've been let's just say, just as lethal defensively as they have been offensively, shall we say. And a lot of it has to go to, I would say, the continuation of a program which has been, let's just say it's been growing in the works. I mean, it grew from Sal Perrine with the Whitwin's UWS squad back in 2020 and 2021 and moving up into the USL2 realm now with Dave Dwahey at the helm for the USLW side, and now with Danny Evans, a member of his staff, as a coach of the indoor side. This team has been dominating. Of course, last year when they were playing in the PASL, they made it all the way to the semifinals of that competition, losing out to the Simonish Sky in the semifinal. But nonetheless, this has just been, a lot of it has to do, like I said, the continuity and the camaraderie of the team itself. When you think about it, I mean, let's look at the player stats as far as the women go. Kayla Addison, 13 goals so far this year, 12 goals and 1 assist, or 13 points, 12 goals and 1 assist on the year. She bagged 4 last week against Indiana United. Tatiana Mason has been fantastic as well. Tatiana scored a couple goals last week as well in that win against Indiana. Claire Ciarlino, she's put up 4 goals and had 1 assist for a total of 5 points. And Shannon McCarthy, how do you say it? Detroit City stalwart. She's been around for a little while. I mean, she, now that Flint City AFC, and we'll get into more into that story later, no longer in operations, let's just put it that way. She's come back to Detroit City, and she's done herself a good job. 4 goals on the year for Shannon McCarthy for Detroit City. Those would like the top 4, and I mean the whole roster is just up and down with some great talent. Obviously, you know who's in that. Gabby Shriver, one of the top goalkeepers, I would say, in USLW, and I would argue another great performance as well, being in MASLW. So, it's mostly, like I said, these women are continuing what they've been doing on the outdoor pitch as well. The dominance, the defense. It's just a continuation of that, and it's good to see. It's good to see from a Detroit City FC side stand of things how they've been progressing, from the outdoor game to the indoor game. Because theoretically there are two type of they're two different types of games. The indoor side is more of a fast-paced game. It's more of a free-flowing game as opposed to what the outdoor game is with, I mean, you got a bigger field, grant you. However, you have to be more disciplined, shall we say. Obviously, you cannot go 30 yards out, to capture a ball and get a goal. You got to have some type of defender right by you or right in the distance or be in line with the defenders on the outdoor game. Not so much in indoor. No offsides means that, you can set up plays. And what we noticed, if you watch the game on last Saturday night against Indiana United, Detroit was in more of a control the ball offense, kind of like what you would see in an outdoor stage like that. But they were mostly in ball control. When you look at last week's game against the Indiana United, Indiana United only had one shot on goal the whole entire contest. One shot on goal. It was listed there, and I'm going by the MASLW website. I thought they had 3 shots on goal personally. It was just an overall dominating performance by them, and credit goes out to Danny Evans and her staff for keeping it the same way it has been over the last couple years for Detroit City, as far as being a defensive minded team, but actually getting the goals when it counts and when it's needed. And they've been just fantastic as far as that goes. Now, speaking of, we're still talking about the women here before I get into the men, and big news there. In fact, big news for the league in general. We'll talk about that as well. Been announced this week about the upcoming MA or USLW season and the divisional alignment that is going to be taking place there. Now, Detroit City's still in the Great Lakes Division, along with AFC Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo FC, Midwest United. However, 3 teams have left the division. Cleveland Force has moved into another division within the Central Conference, and Flint City AFC and Michiana Lions are no longer part of the division. So they had 2 more teams in the division now. Toledo Villa FC, many of you longtime Detroit City supporters remember them from the NPSL days. They'll be joining the division as well. And then a new team, Union FC Macomb, will also be joining the ranks of the Great Lakes Division as well. They're based out of Utica, so sort of like an in metro area rivalry brewing with them. We'll see what happens there as far as their, if they're going to last long. But this club here is operated by Nationals. Nationals, as you know, is a big soccer club in around the Detroit metro area. Of course, they've supplied some stars for us. One of them mainly being Lily Jacob. I got a shout out for her later on in the broadcast as well. This could present a problem as far as recruitment goes for Detroit City FC. As far as the upcoming season is concerned, we'll see what is we'll see what's gonna transpire as far as that goes. When the announcements are made, when player announcements are made for the 2025 campaign. So the division, like I said, 6-team division this time. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more of a balanced schedule and all that. I think you're looking at definitely 10 games. There might be a little bit of an unbalanced schedule because you might see a couple opponents. They might play like 3 times or something like that. Whereas the last time, everyone pretty much had a home and home. So we'll see what that schedule brings out once that comes about in, I'd say, about a month or 2 away. So we're getting really close as far as that goes. As far as the USL news of this week goes, big news when you're looking at the ramifications of what U.S. soccer is going to bring. It was announced earlier this week that that USL was planning on, or is planning on, adopting a Division I league slated to begin play around 2027, 2028. What does that mean? Well, as you know, the World Cup's coming up in 2026, so it kind of aligns with that. Also, the current contracts with ESPN and CBS expire, the television contracts is, they expire in 2026. So, is this a bargaining ploy as far as that goes? We'll see in the near future. However, but the big news being that with the structure that USL has now, the amount of teams that USL has now between League One, Championship, and possibly some USL 2 teams, they think they believe, I'm not going to say they think, they believe that they have enough teams where they can start a Division 1 league coming up in, the target is 2027, 2028. So let's go back to an article that was talking about that, and that was in, let's see, we'll go to USL Tactics as far as that goes here. John Morrissey wrote an article on his Substack about it earlier earlier this week. But like I said, a lot of it has to do with trying to get in within the PLS. And what PLS stands for is Professional League Standards. Professional League Standards, I mean, it's the same for every country has professional league standards. The United States is no exception to that. So, but in an article that John Morrissey wrote, he was talking about the ramifications of the PLS and what that means to the USL as far as that goes. So, but the Athletic was the one that reported the article of how Paul McDonough would announce that they have intentions of going into Division 1 status in 2027, 2028. So, and with that, there's also intentions of a possible, and I do mean possible, pro-rel situation for USL, which would include the USL, the rank between the first tier Division 1, the USL Championship, whatever teams will remain with that, and USL League 1. So it will not be implemented right away, obviously, because they have to meet the minimum, which is 12 teams. They would have to meet the 12 to 14 teams, and they'll have to, do that. It's not that some USL Championship teams will be automatically brought into that fold, but teams can apply for Division 1 status to set up the league. Now, obviously, the thing here, and we saw this with NISA, a lot of it has to do with, what teams can do that, what teams can complete the application process. As you know, the United States pyramid is based on money. Basically, you got the billionaires running MLS, the millionaires running USL. That's how this pyramid goes. Now with USL being part of, or performing its own possible pyramid, I'm saying possible pyramid because nothing's set in stone where it's going to be a pro-rel system or not. But with them setting up a Division 1, teams can apply to get bids to join this Division 1 of USL and start playing games in 2027. Now, I mentioned 2027, 2028. There's been talk that the USL has been looking towards possibly doing a fall to spring schedule, much in the way that USL or that MLS has been trying to do that. MLS was thought going with the proper soccer calendar or the European calendar, as people want to state. So they're looking at possibly a 20, and much in the way that the Super League runs, which is a fall to spring character or calendar themselves. So there's been talk about going into the proper soccer calendar instead of what we term as the North American calendar, obviously, because our season starts from the beginning of March all the way to the end to almost the end of November. So that's basically what the North American calendar looks like. And this would fall in line with transfer windows and international breaks and whatever else is that has to do with the formal soccer calendar, shall we speak, or what I would like to call the European style calendar. So, um, but as I mentioned, 12 to 14 teams to start, with room to grow beyond that. So this is an organized, according to the article by John Morrissey. It's a shocking bit of news, but the league has long hinted for higher aspirations. Unlike NASL's version of Division One in the years past, the USL has slowly built up an organization with nearly 40 independent professional clubs. The pace of the teams folding has declined in recent years, while the number of teams with self-owned soccer-specific stadiums have increased. Now, this is where we're going to run into the next part of this conversation here. Soccer-specific stadiums. Obviously, Detroit City is building one right now, or will be hopefully, shovels in the ground by the end of spring of this year. Get that thing going. So, right now, the teams that are ready, pretty much to go Division One, as far as soccer-specific stadiums go, include and non-soccer specific stadiums. I'll looking at this as well. Louisville City, Indy 11. Obviously, they play out of Michael Carroll Stadium, not a soccer-specific stadium. Sacramento Republic, Phoenix Rising, New Mexico United, who doesn't play in a soccer-specific stadium, obviously, Isotopes Park, Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and Las Vegas Lights. Technically, Cashman Field is not really a soccer-specific stadium, but they made it that way. However, the drawback on some of these stadiums is most of these stadiums don't have one of the classifications in order to, shall we say, become a D1 club. Let me bring those classifications up, or these rules compliant uh, requirements as far as being a part of a Pro Run league. And this is according to the PLS. 12 members at the launch, 14 by the third year of operation. Obviously, USL will have that. 75% of the clubs in a metro area with a population exceeding 1 million. Now, this is a metro area, not necessarily within the city limits. Obviously, we know Detroit is under 1 million, but the populace is over 1 million. So, the capacity of each club's stadium must exceed 15,000 seats. Number 3 right there. All those teams I mentioned a little bit ago don't have stadiums that have 15,000 seats or more. Now, you're looking at, say like Birmingham Legion, Oakland Roots. They have stadiums that exceed 15,000 or more. However, like I said, those are temporary venues, and they're not soccer-specific stadiums. Protective Stadium and Oakland Coliseum, those are not permanent venues. However, Oakland has said that they're planning on building a stadium. They're talking like a couple locations now, one within the lot of the Coliseum complex in the Malibu lot. They've been talking about that for years, but now they're talking about another venue, possibly another 15,000 seat stadium there. But yeah, that's the other, like I said, the third ramification there being the capacity of each stadium being 15,000 or more. Let's roll back to Detroit City a little bit. Now, it has been mentioned, although it's not been officially mentioned, how much the capacity of the new Detroit City FC Stadium will be. There's been talk that that stadium would hold a little under 15,000, a little under 13,000 in some instances. There's been no official word on how many seats will be put in the new Detroit City FC Stadium. They were talking right around the 13 to 15,000 seat range. This way, it would keep them in the USL Championship, and they don't have to do all that other, you know, mole work, let's just say, to get it to a prop to make it to PLS standards. So let's look at a list of teams here. First off, highlighted are the 7 that were mentioned in John Morrissey's article. All these stadiums, okay, they have 3 of those stadiums have soccer specific stadiums. However, the capacity not there. 2 of those stadiums mentioned are in areas where the metro population is less than 1 million, that being Colorado Springs and New Mexico United. Now, New Mexico's close at about 922,000. You think another thing that was to be considered is waivers and all that stuff. Notice I'm raising my eyebrow when we were talking waivers. We remember this from NISA because they let them get away with 8 teams for a little while when they're supposed to be 10 for a Division III league. They've been letting them do that for a while. With USL, I could see them, they know that there's going to be forward progress with USL. With NISA, obviously there wasn't much forward progress. Losing Oakland Roots, losing Detroit City, losing Chattanooga FC, and technically losing the Cosmos as well. But that's a whole other story altogether. But they've been struggling to make the terms for having a Division III league. Thus, they lost their sanctioning this year and are no longer sanctioned by U.S. Soccer. Notice they're not part of the Open Cup as well. So they've made so many waivers to them. So we'll throw NISA out of the picture. Let's throw USL back into the picture here. Looking at this, the promise is there as far as USL is going. There's opportunities in different metroplexes. Obviously, Dallas being one of them. Garland, Texas. Dallas being one of them. New Orleans, Milwaukee, Buffalo's talking about getting a USL team. Obviously, we are looking at Brooklyn, New York for a USL club in 2026. So the potential is there as far as growth in the league, and whether they build soccer-specific stadiums or not, that's up to them, and whether they can find a proper venue and all that. All those towns I mentioned have metro populations more than 1 million people, so that criteria has been filled. The other one, as I mentioned, was the soccer-specific stadium. 3 of those out of those top 7 have soccer-specific stadiums. 4 of them do not. However, all of them fall under the 15,000 seat threshold. So Louisville, they can expand. I'm sure Phoenix can expand. I'm sure Colorado can expand, or make do. Probably get a couple thousand more seats into that venue as well. So they can make them as all that go. Las Vegas, New Mexico, Sac Republic, Indy. Las Vegas could probably make Cashman Field into a soccer-specific stadium themselves. Let's just put it that way. It's no longer a baseball field, and with Javi Batista or Jose Batista, not Javi Batista, Jose Batista, part of the ownership group there, they could probably make that into a soccer-specific stadium out there. So we'll throw them out of the picture. New Mexico's building a new stadium. Sacramento Republic is in the process of building a new stadium. They're currently at Heart Health Park, which is under the 15,000 seat threshold, as you know. Okay, let's look further into the rest of the of USL. Stadiums that are soccer specific Lane is technically a soccer-specific stadium, even though it's a 7,000 seater, but they can expand that one. Looking at all these new teams, the new one for Rhode Island that they just opened up, 10,500. Can they add 5,000 seats more? Maybe. They're in a good populace as well in the Providence area. San Antonio FC is at 8,296. That's Toyota Field. Potential to expand there, obviously. Lexington just built a 7,000 seat stadium. That's it. But here's their caveat. Their metro population, unless you include Cincinnati, which is probably another 20 or 30 miles north of Lexington, there's nothing there. I mean, that may fall under the threshold where you don't have that $1 million or million person populace. Monterey Bay is another one. Unless you include San Jose, they could fall under the threshold. But both of those stadiums, 7,000 and 6,000, might as well say they're going to end up being League One stadium or championship stadiums, and they won't have a chance. Another major market with two major markets with small stadiums. Hartford Athletic, Trinity Health Park is at 5,500. Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh, 5,000. Potential, not really in Pittsburgh unless they build a new stadium, because Highmark is basically one way. It's up, and then you have a side grandstand. That's pretty much it. It's basically a one-sided field. Great facility. Don't get me wrong, great facility, but Pittsburgh would have to build another a soccer-specific stadium that would hold 15,000 or more if they were to, advance to this Division One. Loudoun, 5,000, room to expand there. They're in the the DMV, shall we say. Miami's building a new stadium in Homestead. They have to make 15,000. Currently, they're currently in a stadium that's not soccer specific, but holds 23,500. Pitbull Stadium, FIU, whatever it is. Currently, they're in a stadium like that. Are they drawing the fan? Well, we know they're not. But and looking further down, I did mention Birmingham Legion. It's not a soccer specific stadium, but they're sitting at 47,100 at Protective Stadium there. Oakland Roots, it says 5,000, but they're in progress in that, but yet they're playing in the Coliseum. They got a little bit roped off there. So, and of course, as you know, Detroit City, Keyworth sitting at 72,31 for capacity. However, like I said, as this stadium issue keeps going, we shall see where we stand as far as that goes. If they're going to make it a 15,000 plus seat stadium, we shall see in the onslaught as far as that goes. As far as other metropolitan areas, let's go to major ones here. Charleston, they got their stadium is not soccer specific, nor is it in a population area more than 1 million, unless you include some areas. Here's where the waiver thing comes in. If you're going to go Division One, the USSF will allow a waiver as long as you show signs of improvement, whether it would be your ownership group having a large majority, your largest investor being, reaching a threshold as far as that goes. Let's see, your stadium becomes a 15,000 seat stadium, and they allow for such waivers. So, a traditional team like the Charleston Battery, a legacy team like them, could get an exemption like that. El Paso may or not, depending. Like I said, it all depends on the ownership group. There's a lot of ramifications coming in when you do that, because you look further into Division One requirements. There's also the money issue, and that's where MLS kicks in. That's where you see a lot of those billionaires kick in and all that stuff, because you have to have one of your principal owners have so much in the bank. have like a certain amount in the bank minimum in order to get in there. It remains to be seen how these ramifications are going to go in order for them to, as far as the monetary ramifications go, as far as the populace or population ramifications go, and all that stuff. The main deal is the USL wants to provide soccer to areas that don't have it, that don't have MLS, such as your Pittsburghs, your Louisvilles, your Indianapolises, your Detroits, New Orleans, San Antonio, Sacramento, Oakland area, the Bay Area, basically. They want to provide an option where you can grow a club, you can establish a club there, you can, and eventually it'll come down to a point where, okay, you can establish a club in League One, but build yourself up through meritocracy to get yourself to the point where you're a Division One club. See what I'm saying there? I'm not saying it's going to be implemented right away, but this is the closest step to pro rel that can be seen in this country. We know it's not going to. We might think it's going to happen with MLS between them and the Next Pro, but there's way too many two teams in Next Pro to make that a reality. Basically, you got the billionaires running the single entity clubs in MLS, and then you got your Next Pro, which is technically your third division in the pyramid. You got a few independent clubs there, such as Chattanooga, soon to come Grand Rapids. You got those clubs in that aspect. However, it's basically minor league soccer. You got Major League Soccer and minor league soccer. Basically, that's what it is minor league soccer, a farm system for a farm system and feeder clubs for Major League Soccer is what that is. This is what USL is trying to do. They want to try something to perhaps look into the possibility of going pro rel within its own divisions. They have enough teams to do it. All it takes now is, the financial capabilities of, some of these clubs, and basically trying to get into soccer specific stadiums. I'm sure waivers are going to be made. I'm sure, and USSF, I get that confused, might have something to say about that as far as allowing these teams and allowing this Division One league to go forward. Now, I mentioned the television contracts earlier. Obviously, CBS and ESPN's contracts end in 2026. With the news now that this may happen, a Division One USL, and the exposure that USL has gotten from outlets such as ESPN and CBS. Mind you, last year, preliminary numbers said that more people watched the USL Championship final between Colorado Springs and Rhode Island than they did the MLS final. Number one, availability. Availability for that game was on national linear television, that being CBS. It was also available as well on platforms such as Paramount Plus, for example. So they had the streaming service linked up with the linear network as far as that goes. MLS, on the other hand, the game was on Fox, the championship game, and also available on Apple TV. Not many people get Apple TV. I was going to say there's a few that get Apple TV Plus, but the combination of the two, lower ratings for that on linear Fox than what they were for CBS for the USL Championship final. So the potential is there as far as the ratings are concerned. Now, depending on who makes the final this year, obviously CBS has the final for the next 2 seasons. We'll see what happens as far as the final goes. Say a loose city gets in there taking on, I'll take a wild crack, say like San Antonio or Tampa Bay manages to get in there against New Mexico United and all that. The eyeballs of that are going to maybe determine what the contract is. And now with the potential of Division One happening and the possibility of a pro rel situation within USL in later years, compelling drama helps television ratings. Compelling drama. Say like, okay, you got these three teams in the championship vying for a spot to get into Division One. That championship, you got one team that's already established itself, and you got two other teams that could possibly go in as well. And then you got three teams that are having a hell of a time trying to get out, trying to make it into Division One. That's compelling drama. It's compelling drama in all of world. You look at the Premier League, the race for promotion. They draw crowds of like 80,000 at Wembley Stadium for a battle between the top or the battle between two of the bottom four teams in that promotion zone. Obviously, two have already made it via their records, but they have that playoff, the championship playoff. That championship playoff gets about 80,000 people into Wembley to see that for one team to get promoted into the Premier League. You get the drama at the end of the year in the Premier League about which three teams are going to go down. You're seeing that every year now, as far as that goes. So there is, it provides for more stories, more action, more drama, and it becomes very interesting, shall we say the least. So, all right, gotta keep this down to under 45 here, or under 40. So I'm gonna finish this off by saying it's an interesting proposal that's going to happen, and we'll see how it comes up in the coming years. And and you'll hear more about it over and over again through all aspects of the every media source that covers the USL is going to mention it from time to time. So it's just, shall we say, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, and stay tuned for more because you never know what's going to happen next as far as that goes. All right, want to wrap things up here. Give a big shout out to Lily Jekyll. She has been named to the U.S. national team. Let's see here. I'll go back to the photos here. All right, so there we go. So Lily Jekyll was named to the U.S. national under-17 team. This was yesterday, as a matter of fact. Of course, as you know, Lily Jekyll, a product of the Nationals Academy, also played with Detroit City FC the last couple seasons. Youngest player in Detroit City history to score a goal. She did that this past summer. So congratulations to Lily Jekyll for getting the call from the U.S. women's national under-17 team. Great accomplishment by her. Of course, we'll be back later after hours. Full recap of the match from the City Fieldhouse as Detroit City takes on Kalamazoo United. I'm probably gonna. I'm heading down there myself. So hopefully, highlights, all kinds of other stuff, much more from the Fieldhouse after hours tonight, and we'll see you from there. Until we meet again, folks. Keep your feet in the ground. Keep reaching for the galaxy.